Hey, good morning, amazing artists. My name is Mrs. Vasello, and I'm your art teacher. Today, we are going to get started on our first art lesson, which is about perspective. Now, you might not be sure what perspective is, so I'm going to define it for you a little bit. Perspective is used by artists to create 3D objects on a 2D surface. So, a piece of paper is flat. That would be your 2D surface. When you go to draw something on your 2D surface, such as letters, they are also flat, or a square. A square is flat too. It is 2D. In order to make them 3D, you have to use perspective. And perspective will create the illusion that this 2D letter is popping up or growing from a vanishing point. A vanishing point is this point at the bottom of the paper. These lines right here are called orthogonal lines, and they're used to make that object 3D. In our case, we're making a 3D word. You could also be turning a square into a cube. Today, you're going to be choosing a word. You're going to be starting to draw that word and add color to the word. We will not get this finished today, but we will finish it next week. All right, let's get started creating. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. You are going to need a few supplies. Hopefully you have an art bag, and inside that art bag, I want you to find a nice white sheet of paper that looks like this. I want you to pull out a tan piece of paper, and I also want you to pull out this pink strip of paper. You're going to need that as well today. In addition to those things, you are going to need a handy dandy pencil, and you're going to need an eraser as well. We are going to be working on perspective like I talked about. So in order to get started, what you're going to need to do is you're going to line this pink piece of paper up near the top of your white piece. Notice I'm holding the white piece of paper landscape. That would be this way. This is called portrait. We're not going to hold the paper portrait, but instead we're going to hold it landscape. And this pink piece of paper is up at the top. Very lightly with your pencil, you are going to draw a straight line across the top of this and a straight line across the bottom of the pink piece of paper. I now have a section on my paper that is about 2 inches tall. From here, you are going to be choosing a word. It could be your name, it could be your dog's name, or just a word that you would like to create in perspective for your artwork. I am going to choose the word brave. I would say that's a personality trait that I want to embody. When you go to draw your word, you need to be creating block letters, and these block letters, they need to have a thickness to them. Notice how much space I have here inside my letter that I could draw inside of. Also, in addition to having a thickness, your letters need to touch the top line and the bottom line that we just drew. This will help you keep all the letters about the same height and be easier to do the perspective later. What I don't want to see is this. This is way too skinny. You don't want your letters to be that skinny because you won't have any room to color inside of them. Also, we are using all capital letters, so be sure to use capital letters when you go to draw your word. And don't let your letter float in the middle either, like this. Again, it needs to touch the top and the bottom line with the top and the bottom of the letter. I have provided you on Google Classroom with a block letter worksheet. That could be used to help you visualize what the letters should look like in block letters. If you observe and really take notice how they're drawn, you will be able to recreate them on your paper. Okay, I have my word all finished. My suggestion to you is always start as close to this edge of your paper as you can, because you never know how much room you're going to need for your word. I knew how much room I was going to need, meaning that I put the A kind of in the middle of the paper and knew I needed 2 letters on one side and 2 letters on the other. for you, since you're not quite sure, maybe you've never written this in block letters before, just start all the way over to the left side of your paper. When you are done that, what you're going to do is at the bottom of your paper, you're going to put that vanishing point. After that, you are going to be taking this pink piece of paper and using it as a straight edge. On the bottoms of your letters, wherever two lines intersect, so right here on this E, I have two lines that intersect right here, and I have two lines that intersect right here on the bottom of the E. What you're going to do is from those two intersection points, you are going to go from that dot to the vanishing point. Then you're going to move your ruler over to the other dot and still align it with that same vanishing point. This is 1 point perspective, so all objects and all letters will be headed towards that same vanishing point. I'm going to mark this letter B. It has two intersection points, and draw my lines to the vanishing point. In most cases, your letters will either have 2 points of intersection, or in cases like A's and R's, there are 4. Generally 2 or 4 intersection points at the bottoms of your letters. When you're doing this, your lines should never cross over each other as long as they are all aligned with this bottom vanishing point. You can see that they never crossed over each other. The last step we have here is to do the letter B, and the letter B is tricky because of the points of intersection. You see that this line here and this line here meet right here, and I would put a point. But any curved object, you need to look for the widest part of the curve. So obviously the widest part of the curve isn't here, it is here. So I'm going to put a dot right there, and that is where I'm going to be connecting to. Once you have this word drawn out and you have your perspective from the bottoms of the letters, what I would like you to do is, with colored pencils or crayons or any art material that you have, I want you to color in your letters, and then you need to color the triangles that come from the bottoms of the letters as well. I'm going to color mine, and I'll check back in with you in just a second. All right, so here is my finished piece now that it is colored. I've colored the letters, and I've also colored these triangles that come from the bottoms of the letters. Be sure not to accidentally color a triangle slice down here that leads to nothing. It should only be the triangles that are coming from the bottoms of the letters. Save this project because next week we have 2 more steps that we need to do. If you take a look at this piece here, you can see that they have perspective lines coming from the tops of their letters as well. So next class we'll be adding that perspective from the top, and we'll also be giving a color to our background area. I hope you had fun learning about perspective, and I can't wait to see the artworks that you create. Be sure to save your work for next week when we will finish it. But for this week, make sure you take a picture of what you've done so far and post it on the Google Classroom assignment. Have fun creating!